Oh, hello to everybody. This is great. I have one of my mentors here with me, so I love to have you here with me, Veenu. I really love everything that you are doing. We met with this neuroencoding world, and this is something amazing that I am still like amazed with all the things that I am learning there. And I also know that you are working very hard helping parents and kids and families to start to join each other, start to learn, start to grow, start to like become like better people. So I really love what you are doing. So
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, to see everything that you're doing, to watch you expand and grow like in front of my eyes, and to be able to, have these podcasts to give people that hope and that understanding and actual strategies to make people, go further faster, as we say.
yeah, exactly. And really, in my case, I was like fully focused on business owners and how to help you with these strategies and everything. And suddenly, with this neural encoding, I started to see like now I understand why they are not like implementing all the things that I am teaching them because they don't have the right strategies first in their mind. So I have to start with the mind, and then we can continue with all the strategies. So for
Right.
me, that has been really something key in my business. Is changing everything that I am doing now, but today is not about me, it's about you. So we are going to change a little bit with this conversation. I want to know more about Binu as a person, who you were. And you can tell me, I know that this question that I ask, sometimes I do it like, okay, when you were a baby. No, it's like when a moment that you can say like, okay, you can start to understand who I am because I was this person that was not believing in myself. I was thinking that I can do anything, or I was that girl that was, I don't know, what is your story, but I want to know that part of your struggles before when you started in your life as a teenager. I don't know what part you want to share.
Yeah. Well, let's just start when I was a baby. I'm just joking. So I grew up in California, and I was the first generation from India born in my family in America. And my parents divorced. So in itself, that was already a hardship for our family,
Mm,
because in our culture, we don't divorce. Our parents stay
mm,
together. My parents had an arranged marriage. So growing up in California in a split Indian home, I would say had its own challenges. And then, you know, I grew up in the 70s and 80s. And so back then, like, seeing people of color was different. It was being accepted. And it's kind of like I wasn't white, I wasn't Mexican, I wasn't, you know, um, you know, black or African American. I want to be politically correct, so I apologize. I just don't, I don't want to offend anybody, but I wasn't any of that because I was Indian. And there wasn't a lot of Indians. It wasn't like there was a huge population of where I lived in
mm,
California of Indians. And so I was categorized as just being colored, and I was treated that way. And I was, teased. I was bullied. And what I was hearing became my internal language, that I
mm.
was ugly. And, I was called the N word many, many times. And, I was left out. I remember like the teacher saying, okay, you're a team captain, pick your teams. And nobody wanted to pick me on their team.
Mm,
And I mean, it was like, and we don't realize as kids that just stacks that energy of like, I'm not enough. I'm not
mm,
good enough. Nobody likes me. And then you have to ask yourself, like, what is wrong with me? Like, what am I not realizing? Everybody must be right, because that's what you see.
mm,
And, what I didn't have the knowledge I have now back then. So I just lived in that hole of just not feeling good enough. And, as I grew up and the bullying just continued throughout grade school, middle school, high school, I became suicidal at the age of 13. And
wow.
I had started contemplating, like, how do I end this? Like, because in that moment, especially when you're growing up this way and nothing's changing, you can't fathom that your future is going to change. You just think this is going to be it. So what's the point? I've already lived in my mind 13 years of this hell. Why would I want to live anymore? Why would I want to feel that there was anything worth living? Because I was this color. I wasn't changing. I remember at 7 years old, I was in the garage trying to erase my skin color
Wow.
because I just didn't want to be black because that's what I was considered. I didn't want to be black. I didn't want to be brown. I wanted to be white. I wanted to have blonde hair. I wanted to have blue eyes. Like I wanted to be like the other kids that I saw, and I was so different. And so, growing up, by the time I was 15, everything again, it just keeps stacking. It's that stacking effect that we're learning about now, right? All those wounds. And so I tried to take my life at 15 and I ended up in a psychiatric care hospital for 2 months. And then when
Wow.
I got out, my mom on my 16th birthday, I always joke, I say most 16-year-olds get a car on their birthday. I got a plane ticket, one-way plane ticket to India. And I went to boarding school there for 2 years. And when I came back, I was 17, turned 18, and then that's when I met my first husband, and I got married at 18. It's like I was like trying to escape everything I possibly could in my life to just create a different life for me, right? And I just
And that was an arranged marriage, or it was?
no. I found this guy. He was a Marine. He was white Caucasian, blonde hair, green eyes, and he said he
All
loved me.
the thing that you wanted to be.
Right. And he loved me, so why not marry him? Like that's what people do, right? But it was escaping out of the life that I was living. Like I felt fully controlled by my mom. And so I get married. He gets orders to North Carolina. Hence that's where I'm at now, North Carolina. And I was pregnant with our first child 2 years after our marriage. And so I have 6 kids now. One's 28. He's almost 28. Next month he'll be 28. And one's 23. And then I have stepdaughters that are 17 and 14. And then I have 9-year-old twins, boy girl twins. And I have a granddaughter who's 4. And she's blonde hair, blue eyes, by the way. And so fast forward to like what was my pivot? Like people say, how did you get from being 21 years contemplating suicide from the time I was 13 to the time I was 34?
Wow.
It was I had a plan. I had an exit plan, how I was going to live, how I was going to leave this earth because I was just done. And my why to live with my 2 boys. And I divorced their dad after 10 years. He was an alcoholic. I went through the whole batter women syndrome where, I would always be with men that made me feel less than. Well, at first they made me feel like I was everything. And then when I got into the relationship with them, they started, just verbally, physically, mentally beating me. And so my mind's like, of course they are, because you're not good enough. Like all that internal language growing up with it, just like, of course you're not good enough. Of course you're not. Like, of course you deserve this.
Wow.
And so when I divorced my husband, I was a single mom for 9 years. I worked 3 jobs. And here's the irony. I was a director of a mental health institution. So you talk about masks that we wear. Nobody knew I was suicidal. Nobody knew I was on antidepressants. No one knew I was on anti-anxiety. And I was running these group homes. I was helping all these families with mental health illnesses, their kids with behaviors. And, I was so enthralled in that. And you know what? People say, how is it that everybody likes to talk to you and you want to help them? Because it's easier for me to help you with your problems than it was for me to help me with my problems. And I
Wow.
had a plan. In 2016, I'm out. My boys would be at least 18, each of them. I'm out. And then when I was 34 in 2007, I went to my first personal development seminar, Tony Robbins, and it changed my life. In that moment, he says, in that moment of choice, your destiny is created. And I realized that I was choosing to stay the victim. I was choosing to stay in the I'm not good enough. I was choosing to say, no one loves me. And if that is my story, then that is what I will live. So what I want to create is my new story. So after I walked on fire, after I got rid of my belief systems that were keeping me stuck in my story, I walked away with one decision. I was going to live. I was no longer going to kill myself in 2016. I had no idea what it was going to look like. I had no idea how I was going to do this, but I knew that I was not going to kill myself. And from that moment on, I started to put one foot in front of the other. So my pivot was changing my beliefs. If you and
That's exactly what I want to ask you, because I know that this is this is something that for some people is like, okay, maybe it's a couple of months, or okay, this Tony Robbins moment that you start to, okay, there is something else that killing myself in 10 years or in 5 years or in 3 years, depending the time that you were thinking, because that's amazing. Even having those masks, like how you can live like that, and how even your kids are feeling that energy, even when you think that they don't know, because you are wearing a mask, they are feeling the energy of, I want to kill myself. I am here for you, but I want to kill myself.
Right. And that, I mean, that's the pivot thing. So, like, Wayne Dyer says, change what you see, and what you see will change. And even in that moment, I didn't realize that's what I was doing. But the main thing that made these changes sustainable, we talk about in neuroencoding. What is neuroencoding? It's changing the blueprints. It's changing the brain waves in our brain to realize that our new behavior is sustainable and we get more from that. So we don't default back to old behavior that was comfortable, right? Like that's the whole neuroencoding idea. And pretty much I was being neuroencoded. Like I was encoding my brain. You have to have self-worth. You have to know you're worth it. And so each step I took in my life, I was taking that step towards, you know, what makes me worth it. I am worth being their mom. I am worth, going forward and, being a coach. I'm worth doing this. I'm worth doing that. And it was all of the worth that I started to stack, which then pushed out all those old beliefs that I wasn't worth it, that no one would like me because of my skin color. Nobody would like me because of this or that. And so the pivot is, and I believe it always comes down to self-worth and self-esteem, which led me to this because, what are your biggest wounds can be your biggest gifts.
Mm.
And so I started going into schools and talking about bullying, self-harm, and suicide because those are the three things that were my wounds growing up. And what I realized is that if we don't get to the cause, the foundation of what creates a child's worth and self-esteem is at home.
Mm.
From birth to eight, it's the influences in our life, the people in our life that start shaping our personalities. And then from that point to like 12, 15, it's the experiences we have. And
Mm.
if you intertwine all of that and you stack and you stack and you stack, you get that. And so the gifts I got was I was determined. The gifts I got that no matter how many times I failed, I got back up.
Mm.
And those skills that I learned from early on have taken me to where I am today. And now I'm in homes with families. I'm teaching parents, what does it mean to redefine parenting? What it means is take a look at what baggage is. You said something just a second ago. It's like you saw it, and like even though you wanted to commit suicide and you didn't show that to your kids, they still felt that.
Mm.
And that's what I was doing. I was parenting through the baggage, my baggage, like a luggage full of no worth, no love, no self esteem. And so when my kids said something to me, I would respond like, I'm not even worth it. Like, oh, it's okay if you do that because I'm not worth it anyway. And so when I put those bags down and God gave me a do over with my 9-year-old twins, and, I have an amazing husband who adores me.
Mm.
I opened up so many opportunities when I let go of that baggage and I realized my own worth and I
Mm.
realized that I'm worth it.
Mm.
I created the relationship I wanted. I created the business that I wanted. And now I help other parents redefine their parenting to help them have a better, closer bond with their kids. How do we get our kids to feel open, safe, and trust us so they want to tell us? Because I'll tell you, when I told my mom that I wanted to, kill myself when I was 13 or 15, she just looked at me and she's like, why? Like she had no idea what I had been going through all these years. Because
Mm.
when I did tell her I was being bullied, she's like, "Oh, kids will be kids." So what did that do? It told me that she doesn't hear me, she doesn't see me.
Mm.
When I was 15, everybody wanted to diagnose me. Oh, she's depressed. Oh, she's sad. Oh, she needs this medication. Put her on this. Nobody asked me what I wanted.
Mm.
And that is what I do now. So people call me the parent child whisperer. It's because I have the ability to get into these children's minds as young as 7. My youngest client that I coach right now is 7 years old. To be able to let them go of the anger they feel, the sadness they feel. They stop cutting. They stop yelling at their parents. They stop, you know, I call it bucking the system because they need to be in control. I teach parents how to give their kids control back without feeling that they're no longer the parents.
Mm,
The whole trajectory was all about that.
mm. No, and that's something that for me, I was telling you, I want to have this conversation with you about parenting. I have two little kids. One is 2 years old and the other one 4 years old. So I am in the process of, okay, I can be like trying to protect them for everything, and that's something that, yeah, we have to do as parents, because that's why we are called here in the world to have the kids. Or we can start to help like in a good way to learn how to teach them to grow and to live like freely and take their own decisions and do their own things. So it's like, one, okay, I have to learn this part because I don't want to be using. And that's exactly what I want to ask you now. I have my baggage, I have my things that I am like having some fears of failure or fear of rejection, or I have my imposter syndrome that, yeah, I know, I was working in I don't know what place, and suddenly they were like talking bad to me, and that's why I have to protect them, and they can go to that place because I have to protect them.
Right.
And really, it doesn't have to be the same way, but at the same time. So that one thing, one question: how you can lead them without using your own baggage?
Hmm. So the first thing I would say is identify your wounds that you have.
Mm,
Find the gift. Like, here's a strategy I give my coaching clients from the time that they can remember. Like, my wounds that I can remember go back to when I was 4 years old. I would make a list, 3 columns. The first column is I would list every single wound I had, every memory of what hurt me. A wound is something that hurts, that scars you.
mm,
And I would make a list of that. And then the second column, I would say, what did I make it mean?
mm,
And you start to see a pattern. Like, with myself, my pattern was I wasn't good enough. I
mm,
wasn't good enough because whether it was rejection, whether it was feeling left out, it all came down to it all meant I wasn't good enough. And then in the third column, what did each thing give me as a gift? Who am I now because of it? It's the blame effectively, right?
mm,
But the problem is that we do that for one situation, and then so we live more of our life and then we feel it again. Why do we continue to feel these wounds? Because we haven't even looked at everything that's underlying in us, in our unconscious mind, that's still saying, hey, I'm still hurting.
mm,
To identify, like, wait a second, but that's the gift I got.
mm,
Again, change what you see, and what you see will change. You can either see them as wounds, and you'll have every resource to see why they hurt you and why you're not great and why you're an imposter, or you can see the gifts in them and see
mm,
all the resources that give you, like, why is it your gift? Who are you now because of it? And when you cure that, when your child comes to you and says, I'm really scared that I'm going to fail this test. If I'm a parent who was, still about self worth and self esteem, I'd be like, you're not going to fail that, because if you fail that, that in my mind, it looks bad on me that I'm not a good parent, because if I was a good parent, I wouldn't want
mm,
you to fail it. I would tell you, you need to study. You're not going to go outside. Turn off the TV. Give me your phone because you need to study. You will not fail that. And I'd be so adamant and almost angry that how dare they going to fail that? Because
mm.
why? Because it was going to reflect on me and I was not good enough. And it was going to show people that I was not a good mom. Now
Wow.
I tell my kids, because I have self-worth and self-esteem, I've let go of that baggage. And
Mm,
I say to them, what would happen if you failed? And they would tell me, they would be like, oh, well, wouldn't feel good. Well, what wouldn't feel good about it? Well, then I wouldn't have my A. And when I get A, I get rewarded. I said, well, what can I do to support you? What does mom need to do to help you so you
mm,
feel good? And you realize whether you fail or not, this doesn't mean anything about you. It just means that you didn't know the words or you didn't know the words.
mm,
And then what are you going to learn from that? Maybe we need to find a different way to study. Maybe you need to mommy needs to give you more quizzes. There's a huge energy shift with that.
yeah.
There's no blame, because I'm not taking it personal. I don't make it mean that I'm a good mom or a bad mom if they fail.
Mm,
What I make it, and I don't want them to make it if they're good or bad if they fail. What I want them to see is that a test just tests you on that information. And sometimes you just don't know it the way you do. So you're not going to pass it.
Mm. No, and this is really powerful because really we as parents we are like thinking, yeah, maybe I know or I don't know, but I am the person in charge. So I have to take the decisions here, and this is the way, or
Right.
something like that. Or you can take the door and go out, and that's it. Sometimes we take that position because we don't have really the tools to help our kids to decide exactly what they want to decide, or we are trying to lead through our wounds. So that's really powerful, and right now it's something that the people that is listening is, I believe, it's key for you to understand. Do I have wounds? Yeah, but my kids didn't notice that. They are not noticing that. They don't know about that. Are you really sure about that? Because they feel everything that you are doing, even if you are struggling at work and you don't want to tell them, they are feeling it.
Yes.
So how people start to know? Okay, I I don't know because I don't know.
Right. Neither did I. And so, here's a strategy that I share with everybody. And this is probably my I should have it as my tagline. Get curious, not critical.
Mm,
Get curious, not critical. When your child is facing something, be curious about it. Ask questions. What does it mean to them? Like going back to that, I'm scared I'm going to fail this test. What does it mean to you to fail?
mm,
What would you need to do differently so you didn't fail? What certainty do you need so you know that you're going to be okay afterwards? Instead of being critical, going, no, 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 you need to study. Then you can't watch TV until you show me that you got it, right? That's critical versus the questions is curious. You know, like a child, you say you have young kids. So, they have the glass of milk and you say, okay, I'm going to put the milk here so you don't spill it. And then all of a sudden they take a sip and they put it here and the elbow hits it and it goes everywhere. And then we're like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, I
I
just
told you.
yeah, don't do that. And so we say to the kid, what? Why did you do that? We know why they did it. It
Yeah,
was an accident. We know they picked it up and they put it in the wrong spot. We know it. But we get so upset and we get critical. Why did you do that? You know better. I told you. That's critical. Curious might be like, what do we need to do next time? Where do we need to put the milk next time so we don't have this mess? And why don't you come help me clean it up, right? Because there's so many gifts in helping me clean it up. You make a mess, you clean it up. That's life. That's as adults. If we make a mess, we got to clean it up. So why not teach them when they're younger and model that, right? And then you ask them questions. So the next time they have their milk, they say, where are we going to put it? And they're like, oh, daddy, I'm going to put it right here. Good job. And then you praise them because their mind is starting to see a pattern. They're in control of where they put their milk. They're in control of not knocking it over. We're giving them their worth. They're worth having the opportunity to problem solve themselves. They're worth it.
that's amazing. And quick question: if you have two brothers or siblings that are fighting with between each other, and you know that both have the same the reason because they were thinking from their point of view the same thing, how you deal with that?
So it's funny because I have the twins, right? And they fight a lot of times. So what we do is, and I learned this from my coach's niece actually. It's like do random acts of kindness. So my kids are named Samuel and Sage, and so like if Samuel is being, let's say, mean to his sister, you know, I will tell him, I'm like, you need to come up with 3 random acts of kindness before you could do anything else. Because our theme in our house is love and kindness. Like that's our theme.
Mm,
And I think every family should have a theme because then you have something to go back to. And
mm,
so we say, Sam, was that love and kindness? He'll be like, no, but I don't want to be love and kindness. I hate her. And say, okay, great. Well, before you could do anything else, you got to do 3 random acts of kindness. And the caveat to that is that my daughter can't refuse it. So all of a sudden he'll get her a drink out of the fridge. He'll put her dishes in the dishwasher for her. And then he'll do something like he's like, I'll go first in the shower today so you don't have to. Those are his 3 random acts of kindness. So now he's more focused on what does he need to do to be nice than he is of why he was mad in the first place.
Wow, that's amazing.
Mhm.
That's really cool. So I know that you are having a conversation with parents. You are like your passion is really to help parents to improve their lives. So, quick question: in this parenting program that you have, are you having also like some help with the couples that maybe at the end, because the energy that the parents bring to the family is something big inside of everything that is happening? So but what happens if I'm talking to parenting is like, okay, yeah, it's everything is from the father or the mother to their kids, but sometimes there is some issues between the two.
Yeah, so and that's part of the relationship. So when I coach kids, I'm also coaching the parents. I have to, because once I get the kid to feel safe and open with me, I want to transition that into the parents. The kids feel safe and open to the parents, but the parents have to be on the same page.
Mm.
So I have different types of coaching programs, right? Like I have a program actually, Alejandro. I don't even know if you know this, but I actually move into homes with families for
Yeah, I
4 days.
know that. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and it's kind of like the format that Joseph has is like the tell, show, do, right? So like the first day I'm absorbing and I'm telling parents like, what to expect. And on day 2, I'm in charge. Like I'm showing them how to do it. Like I'm in charge. I'm telling them, I'm showing them. And then on day 3, I'm coaching them through it. So they're back in charge. And on day 4, they're doing it by themselves. And the transformation in front of my eyes in those 4 days is a miraculous miracle. Parents that were going to divorce are no longer divorcing. Divorce is off the table. We
Mm.
have found out what their formula is to be seen and heard. And what happens is the kids that are acting up, they're sucking out all the energy, and one parent's trying to compensate for the other parent, and they're just trying to get their kids to listen, and all along they're forgetting each other along the way. They're
Mm.
forgetting why they fell in love in the first place. They're forgetting why they enjoy each other's time in the first place, because everything has gone through these kids are driving me crazy,
Mm.
and I don't know how to do it, and I don't know how to get on the same page. So that's one program I have. I have another program that's actually a virtual program. It's a 6-week video course, and there's downloads. The videos are really small. Like each week has like 5 videos, but they're like 10, 15 minutes each. And week 2 is, you know, letting go of the baggage. Like, how do you parent by letting go? And it's like, I take you through a whole disc model so you can understand each other's personalities. On, if he's a D person and you're a C person, he doesn't want all the details. Just give him what he needs to get the results. And then you're trying to figure out why is communication not working? That's probably why, right? So there's a whole week that's really about, understanding communication and communicating better. And so, and then of course, like if I'm coaching the kids one on one, I'm getting on calls with the parents too to help them understand, and I always hear, well, my husband doesn't get it, or my wife does not do that. Great. So what do we need to do to get them, your wife or your husband to do that? Because that's the missing link here. So it's really identifying. And to me, coaching is getting to the cause and not dealing with all the effects. The effects are the tantrums. The effects is the cutting. The effects is the depression. The effects is, the kids disrespecting you. The effects are your
Mm.
kids aren't listening to you. That's all effects. There's a cause
Yeah.
that's creating those effects. So it's my job to support your family with understanding what the cause is and healing
Awesome. No, that's really key. I believe, and really, what do you say, or what can you say to the people that are listening that maybe they are going through a divorce? That I want to divorce right now. I don't care what Ginu wants to tell me right now. I don't care what Alejandro is trying to tell here, but right now I am tired of this and I don't want to do anything. So, are you going to help me with my kids? But I don't want to be dealing with this. Of even when they are not like
right.
already divorced.
You'd be surprised like how many kids I do coach that their parents are already divorced and they're co-parenting.
Mm.
And I tell the parents, I'm like, if you guys don't want to be together, that's your choice. But it's not your choice not to be parents to this kid. Like you guys chose to have
Yeah.
this kid. You guys have got to learn how to co-parent. And
Mm.
to help them identify what does co-parenting mean? What's going to serve this child that we have? What outcome do they want? What do they want? What do they want to look at their child 20 years from now and say, thank God we were able to co-parent so they didn't have to create more wounds?
Mm.
No kid wants to hear bad things about the other parent. No kid wants to hear that. And I'm going to be honest, it's, a vulnerable moment for me. I used to do that. Like, I would tell my younger boys, I'm like, your dad did this, da 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 da, because I did not know. And I
Mm.
feel like I had to go through that so I can know now of what are the repercussions. As a parent coach, there are lots of parents coaches out there. I think the thing that sets me off, like people say your X factor, is I have the older kids. I know that if we continue to yell, we continue to take things away, we continue to ground them, we continue to parent through our own lack of self worth and self esteem. I see what happens. But both my boys don't have a lot of self worth and self esteem because how could they when they didn't have a parent to channel that to them?
Yeah.
They're learning that now. They're doing so much better. But that's how I know that we can either parent where we beat our kids down and not even know it, or we can redefine our parenting and build our kids up because we
Mm.
know.
Mm. Awesome. Just, I know that we are like at the end of the
Yeah.
show now. Just, I know that you are having a master class for parenting. Tell us a little bit about that. I'm going to put the link here in the chat. Well, here it's, and it's going to be like crazy, but I am going to put it also in the chat for everybody that is listening. If you want to join Vinu and know more how to help in your business and everything that you are doing, I already put it in the chat also. So tell us a little bit about this masterclass.
So this master class is called Redefine Parenting, and it's give your children a childhood they don't have to heal from.
Mm.
How many of us are still healing the wounds from our childhood, right? So I want to help parents understand what are we doing now as parents? Like I said, I was grounding, I was yelling, I was taking their phone away, I was being critical to them. I did not know that I was damaging their self worth and self esteem. I didn't know that when I was saying, no, you can't do that. You're grounded because you got to see that what they were hearing is, see, I'm not good enough.
Mm.
I'm not good enough to do this. I'm not good enough. Like that's what they're hearing. So I want to first of all figure out where are we? Where are we as parents? And what does it mean to redefine that? To get curious, not critical. And then I want to help you guys to realize that you know there are solutions out there. There's tangible strategies that I will share with you guys on that call that you if you start implementing them today, you will start to see changes tomorrow. Your
Mm.
kids are going to be like, what's wrong with you, because they're not used to it. And that's what you want to shock the behavior. Instead of, I had one parent that was like, I was going to yell at her again because there was a dish in the sink, and then all of a sudden I thought to myself, pick and choose my battles. So what if there's a dish in the sink? Venus says to get curious, not critical. If I'm going to get curious, I'm going to ask my daughter, what has to happen for you to, get your dishes cleaned up? What a better question instead of you. Take away the blame and the shame. And so I'm going to teach you in that short time with me on how to create open and safe and trusting communication with your kids. How do you get curious, not critical? And so you could take these strategies and use them immediately. So I would love to see you guys on my class. If you can't make it, at least register because I will send it out to whoever registered as well.
Okay, awesome. So I believe this was amazing. I love it. I really recommend everybody that is here connected with us today, or maybe listening to this recording in the future, to connect with this with Vinu. Really, she's amazing. She's my mentor. I am learning a lot of her and all the things that she's sharing with us in the neuroencoding world, and I am also learning a lot of the things in the parenting. So I really recommend 100% everything that she's sharing here with us. So thank you, Vinu, for being here with us today. It was amazing. I know that you are amazing. I want to ask you the last words that you want to share with the people here today. That, okay, if you want to remember something about today, I have my own, but I want you to tell, okay, this is the thing for.
This is the most important thing. And if you just change this one thing, you will change everything in your parenting. And I've said it so many times, but be curious, not critical.
Mm.
Ask a better question and you'll get a better answer. Set your kids up to win.
That's really powerful. So thank you very much, and I hope that I know that we are going to have another show very soon.
Yes.
So we are going to be continue listening to Vinu, and remember, you can connect to the masterclass and you can continue learning from this. Thank you very much,
Thank
Vinu. It was
you.
amazing. See you, everybody.